Hello everybody, welcome to the final module of this week. This is on assertiveness training. So, this is the fifth module on developing resilience to stress, and here we will talk about what is assertiveness, how does it differ from aggressive behavior, and finally we will discuss about assertive communication. So, what is assertiveness? Assertiveness is asking for what one wants or acting to get what one wants in a way that respects the rights and feelings of other people. So, what is very important is respecting without losing respect or without being abusive towards somebody else. You are also being very firm. So, you are firmly expressing what you want, or you are acting in a way that you desire to without hurting others. Now, I hope you all have a pen and paper in hand, and you can see for how many of these behaviors do you put a yes. So, that will be a test of your assertiveness. So, can you express negative feelings about other people and their behaviors without using abusive language? Are you able to express and exercise your strengths? Can you easily recognize and compliment other people's achievements? Do you feel comfortable accepting compliments? Are you able to stand up for your rights? Are you able to refuse unreasonable requests from friends, family, or co-workers? Do you have the confidence to ask for what is rightfully yours? Can you accept criticism easily without being defensive? Can you comfortably start and carry on a conversation with others? And do you ask for assistance when you need it? So, if you need help, do you actually ask for it? Now, these will tell you if there are too many yeses, yes, you know that you are assertive. If it's not, then you'll have to change your ways to more of assertive behavior. Now, many times when I talk about assertiveness with people, the first thing that people tell me is, after understanding the definition or understanding the meaning of assertiveness, is I can't say no to others, ma'am. So, if I have a friend who's asking for my mobile to call his family every day, several times of the day, I give it to him with a grudge, but I don't know how to say no. So, this is such a thing happening to you as well. Or are you, if you're being taken for granted by people, are you being able to express it? Now, mind you, there are some others who will say that, oh, I say it very abruptly. I say it that I cannot give it to you, but after that I see many people are angry with my behavior. So, if it is that you are saying it occasionally, and you are, after keeping your grudges with you for a long time, you are expressing it abruptly, then people may be unaware of what is bringing up this behavior, and that may increase more of relationship conflicts. So, if you are firm and polite from day one, then people will know what you want. So, and sometimes another thing that happens is people are not aware that they are aggressive instead of being assertive. They feel that they are being assertive, but most of the times we come across students especially who are non-assertive by nature. So, now that brings us to the difference between being passive and aggressive, or what is non-assertive behavior. So, an individual being non-assertive could either be passive, that is, they are not committed to their own rights, and or aggressive. So, defend their own rights and work to achieve own goals. Now, that's perfectly all right as far as assertiveness goes. Then what's the difference? The difference is they disregard, aggressive people disregard the rights of others, while passive people will allow others to infringe on their rights. So, just as I was talking about taking the mobile or using somebody's laptop constantly, even when you are in need of the laptop, if somebody is taking yours and is irrespective of disregarding your needs, then that person is being aggressive in his behavior while you are being passive. So, both people are being non-assertive, and passive people generally do not stand up or speak out. They are quiet and passive, while aggressive people blame others for problems instead of offering solutions. So, it is more like the statements are more like you did this. We will talk about assertive communication. Now, some of the behavioral styles of passive individuals, they hope to get what they want without actually having to say it. So, somehow they assume that the other person will understand that they are having trouble. They give in to the will of others, leave it to others to guess or letting them decide for him or her. They take no action to assert their own rights, and putting others first at your expense or at his or her expense. Now, this may be considered by society as a positive trait. Several times we are taught to let the others have the opportunity first rather than going and grabbing it by yourself. That is a good thing to follow, but if it is at the expense of really harming yourself or letting your wants or your needs being unrecognized, unchecked, then you need to put a stop to that. And giving in to what others want, that is perfectly all right as long as it is not harming you. Now, lack of assertiveness may bring about stress, may bring about low mood, may bring about a grudge against others, which may come out as a blurted expression later on. So, the non-assertive behavior, in this case passive behavior, may bring about several psychophysiological problems or bodily problems. So, it is very important to be assertive. So, remaining silent when something bothers you. So, this is also a style of passive individuals. Also, acting submissive, apologizing a lot. So, you often come across individuals who keep saying, I am really sorry this happened. So, maybe many times these things are not related to that person. So, say suppose you have decided to take everybody to a movie, and when you go to the movie hall you find out that that day's show is cancelled for some reason. So, a passive individual may start taking all the blame and constantly apologize to everybody. Now, it is not what is he doing? He is personalizing the situation. We have spoken about cognitive errors of personalization. You see, this is an example of personalization, where he is personalizing the event and apologizing to people for as if it is his fault. So, it is taking the blame. So, these are some of the passive features or of passive styles of individuals. Talking, some of the examples being talking quietly, laughing nervously, sagging shoulders, avoiding disagreement, hiding face with hands, etc. So, I do not want others to see my facial expressions, drooping shoulders. So, please back up and sit properly, all of you. Now, behavioral style of aggressive individuals. Aggressive individuals express their feelings, opinions and desires in a way that threatens or punishes the other person. So, the way they are stating things is very abusive, standing up for their own rights, but with disregard to others, putting himself first at the expense of others, overpowering others. So, aggressive individuals are most of the time very dominating as well, reaching towards his own goals, but at the sake of others. So, a passive individual is exactly the opposite of an aggressive individual, where he is giving on to the wants and desires of the others at his own expense, while the aggressive individual strives towards his goal, but at the sake of others. And we have spoken about dominating behaviors. So, some of the behavioral manifestations of aggressive individuals are shouting, demanding, not listening to others, saying that others are wrong, leaning forward while talking. Now, that does not necessarily mean that it is aggressive behavior. It may be that the person is also very eager to express his view, but aggressive individuals also have a very forceful way of presenting themselves. So, the way they talk, their expressions, their intonations, their behavioral non-verbal actions are very forceful. Looking down at others, wagging or pointing fingers at others, this is a very common way of talking, threatening or fighting. So, these behaviors are generally seen in aggressive individuals. Now, assertive individuals, we have spoken of the two types of non-assertive individuals, behavioral style of non-assertive individuals, that is passive and aggressive. And now, let us see how an assertive individual behaves. An assertive individual is more firm. So, telling someone exactly what they want in a way that does not seem rude or threatening to them. So, the assertive individual may not be very obliging and polite, as if like drooping down. That would be more of a passive individual, but assertive individual, you cannot point out that he has been rude to me. He will not be rude to you. He will be polite but firm, standing up for your own rights without putting down the rights of others, respecting yourself as well as the other person. So, it is not like you are good or I am good. You are good and I am also good. Listening and talking. So, on the contrary, as compared to an aggressive individual who will constantly talk and not let the other talk, and the passive individual who will listen and not talk at all. So, the assertive individual will have a partial of both. So, he will also listen and talk. So, that just indicates that he expresses his feelings while listening to others' feelings. So, you are regarding others, that is, you are not disregarding others, and you are also paying heed to your own emotions and positive and negative feelings, being confident but not pushy. So, staying balanced and knowing what you want to say, watching out for the terms that are used, example, I feel and not I think, being very specific. So, unlike aggressive individuals who use a lot of you statements, the assertive individuals use a lot of I statements. Passive individuals also use a lot of I statements, but their statements are more like I apologize, I sincerely hope, I really feel sorry. But here assertive individuals use I statements, but they are very specific. Talking face to face with the person rather than avoiding. Passive individuals hide their face most of the time while talking, or they avoid eye contact. Now, assertive individuals generally maintain eye contact and talk face to face with that person. They do not use any sarcasm or not even whining in their behavior. Now, sarcasm is used by aggressive individuals, whining is used by passive individuals. Using body language that shows that you are standing on your ground, that is, that the individual is confident of what he or she is saying, and staying centered. Now, that means he is focused on the conversation rather than drifting away to other things. So, one very simple example of talking communicative style of assertive individuals is that you can easily notice is they talk more slowly and more grounded, in a more grounded way. So, it is not like I'm talking about this, and they do not keep repeating the words. So, they have thought about what they wish to talk and then they firmly express the statement, and their conversation is focused to what they are talking about. So, it does not drift, it does not become circumstantial, they do not move from one topic to the other. Again, their way of talking, it is not on a high amplitude or high frequency, it is not like yes, I was saying, so it will not go up, it will be more towards the basal level, and they are more firm and steady in their conversations. So, why is it important to practice assertiveness? So, that is because it is not right to let others boss us around. It is not to react to things that other people expect of us. So, it is not always that you will have to do what other people request. So, that way we either become more dependent or we become more defensive in our behavior patterns. So, and if you do not practice assertiveness, you are unable to express your feelings and thoughts. So, people will not get to know how you are feeling during a situation, and what happens is that brings about mode of keeping things within, and that increases stress and anxiety. So, also it is you are restricting your thought process. If you say in a group situation, if there is a brainstorming situation, a group activity, if you do not present your ideas, people will also not get to know that you have the potential, also that you can think out of the box, that you can think out of the box, that you have a creative ability. It not only is known by others if you are assertive, but it is also a feedback to yourself that yes, I can do it. So, that will also increase your confidence. So, becoming dependent on others for decision making if you are not assertive. So, you will start going by the thoughts and feelings and decisions of others if you are not assertive. So, maybe that is not to your liking, maybe you had a better idea, maybe you had a better plan to deal with things, and that overall non-assertive behavior brings about low confidence. So, how to practice assertiveness? So, we will start with assertive listening. To let the others know that you want to understand his or her point of view. So, that is very important when you are talking about assertiveness, and when you are talking about expressing assertive behavior, it starts with assertive listening. Then to understand, so you are communicating to the other that you are eager to know his or her point of view. So, during a conversation, it is not like yes, it's on an equal status, rather than like this. In the case of an aggressive individual, this is the aggressive individual, the other person on the other side of the conversational end is at a lower rung. In the case of a passive individual, the other is upper, in an upper position, and the non-assertive passive individual is on the lower rung. For an assertive individual, when you are talking or interacting with the other, you are on the same plane. So, to understand accurately what another person is saying, this is very important, especially in group situations where you are working as a team, because maybe if you are non-assertive and you say that I did not understand you properly, that may create other communication problems later on, or may actually affect your work pattern if you haven't understood what was being said by the other person in the group. So, if you don't understand anything that the other person is saying, it is always better to ask him or to tell him, express it clearly rather than keeping it within yourself, and to let the other person know that he or she has been understood. So, it is also important to communicate that, well, I have got the point that you are trying to make. So, there are two things. One is when you are communicating that you have got the point, that is, one is that you are telling that person that you have understood what he wants to say. The other is that you are also giving the feedback, acknowledging that you have listened to the conversation properly. So, some of the ways assertive conversations go on is, I would like to hear your views on something. So, you are actually opening up the conversation. Could you tell me more about them? So, you are trying to find out more, allowing the person to talk. Would you tell me more about how you see the situation? See, these are all open ended. So, you are actually exploring or generating ideas from another person. Contrasting to an aggressive individual, an assertive individual allows the other person to talk. You will see most of the managers and leaders following assertive behavior and following these styles of behavior. I think if you are not agreeing to a point of view, I think we are approaching this from two different perspectives. So, you can instead of saying I do not agree with you and you are not right, you can say it this way: what does the situation look like from your perspective? I'd like to hear your thoughts on something. So you are again exploring what the person wants to say, and you are listening to that individual. We've spoken about body language and assertiveness, but maintaining direct eye contact, again we'll just take a look. Maintaining direct eye contact, erect posture, so rather than drooping shoulders and bending, speaking clearly and audibly, as I was saying, that saying the words very clearly, very slowly, very specifically, not whining, using facial expressions and gestures to add emphasis to the words, but not being forceful like aggressive individuals. Asking what you want clearly and directly without using too many complex sentences and too many compound sentences. So, it is more like short precise sentences, being very specific. Avoiding negative paraphrasing. I don't think you will like, instead of saying that I think this would be better, or I feel. So, it is not going the negative, starting in a negative tone. Dressing like you mean business. So, you are being very formal and letting down the loose ends. So, being very formal in the approach when there is a requirement for assertive communication. Eye contact is important, we have spoken about that. Avoiding nervous body language. So, less fidgety. So, less of movement of hands, putting in the pocket, taking it out, or looking here and there, scratching your head, or things like that. Emphasizing on not what you say, but how you say it. So, choosing the words carefully, speaking clearly and being concise. Now, that brings us to a more elaborate study of assertive communication. So, how does assertive communication help? We spoken about assertiveness actually helping interpersonal relationships, reducing conflicts and anxiety, enhancing self-esteem, because when you are speaking firmly, when you are speaking politely, people take notice of what you are talking, and that helps you to feel better also, you feel more confident. Retrain self-respect, so you actually get respect from others as well as you start respecting yourself. It minimizes stress, you treat others respectfully, so that increases your interpersonal relationships and reduces feelings of helplessness and depression. So, you are in control, you are, whatever you are saying, you know what you are saying. So, you need to know what you are saying first, then say it with confidence, and gives a sense of control. So, there are 4 styles of communication postures. So, one is passive, I don't count. Aggressive, I count, but you don't count. Passive aggressive, so it could be a mixture of both. I count, you don't count, but I am not going to tell you about it. So, passive aggressive people are more dangerous in their way. Okay. What they do is they generally do not express that they are not like an aggressive individual. Overtly, they do not, passive aggressive people do not express that they are not liking you, but you will gradually understand through the non-verbal behavior. So, it is like I count, you don't count. So, I don't care what you say, but I am not going to tell you that you don't count, but neither am I going to behave in a way to make you feel that you count. Assertive individuals are very clear, I count and you count too. So, I am confident about what I am saying and I respect what you are saying. So, it is not like I don't care. So, 5 steps, we will discuss the 5 steps to assertive communication. So, when approaching somebody about behavior you would like to see changed, stick to factual descriptions, that is very important, of what they have done that's upset you, rather than labels or judgments. So, say if there is a situation where your friend who habitually turns up late has shown up 20 minutes late for a plan, for a lunch date, say for a movie or whatever. One way to say it would be, you are so rude, you are always late. So, what have you done? You actually stuck to labeling his behavior or her behavior. Now, in assertive communication, we are supposed to focus on this exact situation. So, to being specific in assertive communication, it could be put like, we were supposed to meet at so and so time, but now it is so and so time. So, that just shows that this individual is late. So, you do not need to actually directly say and put it as a you statement. Most of the times when we are saying negative statements with a you, it seems like a blame. So, the assertive way of saying it would be just sticking to the factual descriptions. So, if a person is late, you can actually say that without mentioning the word late, but rather the way of expressing the difference in time when he was supposed to come and when he has arrived. The same can be done if you are describing the effects of the behavior. For example, if the person has turned up late and you have missed the lunch, or if you have missed the movie, one way of saying it would be, now lunch is ruined. So, basically you have actually focused on what was damaged. On the other hand, the assertive communication would be that now I have less time to spend in lunch with you because I need to go back to work by so and so time. So, if you've if the movie is missed, so it could be, or the lunch is missed, you could put it down to how much time has been reduced. Again, you are sticking to the factual information rather than going by expressing your feelings on the negative effects, negative aspects of the situation. So, in this case, what you are doing, you are describing the effects of the behavior of the other rather than labeling the behavior. Now, going to the next one is, you will see it is important to use I messages. We were talking about this. So, if you start a sentence off with you, it comes off as a judgment or attack, just I had mentioned right now. But if you start with I, the focus is on more how you are feeling and how you are affected, but it is not more of apologetic. So, you are just stating the facts. So, also it shows more ownership of your reactions and less blame. So, less use of you in a negative situation actually ascertains that you are not blaming that person. You are rather specifically stating the event and the resultant causal effect of that event. So, the you message could be something like, you need to stop that. I message, on the other hand, which an assertive person does, is, I'd like it if you would stop that. So, you could say that instead. You could, if you were using too much of you statements, you can start it with an I statement from henceforth. So, the next one is, how do you put this all together? So, when you, that is their behavior is, then I feel, you could phrase your sentence like this, your feelings. So, if there is a negative behavior like when you are late for lunch, so that is the behavior, I feel something, whatever it happens, I feel I spend less time with you, or whatever. So, when used with factual statements rather than judgments or labels, this formula provides a direct, non-attacking, more responsible way of letting people know how their behavior affects you. Another example, when you yell, I feel attacked. So, here yell is the other individual's behavior, and I feel your feelings. So, I feel attacked. So, when you are late for everything, are late for the movie, and now in the factual situation, I feel I have less time to spend, or we talk less. So, a more advanced variation could be the results of the behavior. Again, you'll remember that you need to put these in very factual terms. So, as in describing the event. So, when you are stating it, when you, that is their behavior, when you arrive late, then results of the behavior, I have to wait and I feel frustrated. So, again going back to the old example of the lunch date or movie, you could put it like, when you arrive late. So, that is the behavior that you are not happy with. So, remember that whenever you are putting this in assertive communication, you need to put it as, you can write this statement down as when you, then the behavior that you are not happy with, then again the results of the behavior that you are not happy with, then what happens. Again it has to be a factual information. So, in this case, if a person arrived late, you have to wait, or if somebody is taking your phone, then how do you feel. So, when you take my phone to make your personal calls, then the result of the behavior, how is it affecting you? I have to spend money on your calls and I feel whatever, how you feel. So, you feel frustrated or you feel angry. So, what you have done is you have expressed it very clearly. So, in today's session, what we have primarily discussed is what is assertiveness, and we have spoken about assertiveness being very important for managing stress. So, or rather if you are not assertive, then it affects your anxiety, and if there is more of non-assertive behavior, we keep things within, and many times it may come out as aggressive behavior. So, today we have discussed about what is assertiveness and what are the assertive styles, what are the behavioral styles of passive individuals, aggressive individuals and assertive individuals, and how to be more assertive in behavior, and what is assertive communication. So, how do we frame our statements, our communication to be more assertive in day-to-day life. I hope this session was interesting. This was not more of theory, but it is more of a practical that you could do, you could implement, and you can ask others to implement, and I hope you will do it henceforth. Thank you.